Chapter 29. Fish in a Tree. Albert, Keisha, and I get off the bus for our class trip to the Noah Webster house. With no written work today, I'm thinking it will be a silver dollar day. Albert starts collecting acorns from the ground and filling his pockets. I'm tempted to ask why, but I'm afraid the answer will take an hour. Oliver picks up acorns and whips them at the trees. Max joins in. Max hits a tree every time. Oliver, not so much. Mr. Daniels walks over and says something to make them stop. I pick an acorn up too, and it reminds me of a little Frenchman with a pointed chin, perfectly shaped head, and a little beret. I name him Pierre and stick him in my pocket. I decide that I'll do a drawing of him later, maybe dancing with a lady at the Eiffel Tower. My grandpa always said he was going to take me to see it. Albert's pockets are bulging by the time we line up to go inside. Shay is rolling her eyes at him and laughing. When Mr. Daniels looks in her direction, she stops like she has an on-off switch. When he looks away, she laughs at Albert again. "Don't laugh at him," I say. "Fine," she says. "I'll laugh at you." "I don't care if you laugh at me." Albert just stands there, looking a little lost. "Albert," I whisper. "Why won't you tell them to go jump in a lake, or at least to leave you alone?" "Albert," Keisha talks to him in her "you better listen to me" voice. "Hunched over and silent is no way to meet the world." Albert bends over, picking up more acorns. He looks up at us. "It isn't logical," he says. "It will only let them know it bothers me." "So it does bother you?" I ask. He stands up straight. "Well, no one likes to be insulted. But let's say that my worry about Shay is a drop of water in the ocean compared to my other worry right now." "What's that?" I ask. "These acorns," he says, holding one up. "This green coloring on the side looks like moss, but I am concerned that it is actually a fungus. If this is the case, all of these trees may be in danger. I have collected samples and will do further research." I lean in and look at the acorn. I like how Albert cares and is able to see things that other people wouldn't, but I wish Albert would care about himself as much as the scientific world. Mr. Daniels puts us into groups. I pray that I end up in his group or with Keisha and Albert. I get part of my wish and am in a group with Albert. Mr. Daniels is with a bunch of boys, including Oliver and Max. We get the drill about behaving, things being old and how we're not supposed to touch them. We break into our groups and head upstairs and into a bedroom. "So," our guide says, straightening her bonnet, "does anyone know where the term sleep tight came from?" Albert raises his hand and she calls on him with a smile. Albert points to the underside of the bed. "Mattresses were held up with rope, so they were off of the floor and away from the bugs. When the mattresses would sag, they'd tighten the ropes, making the bed more comfortable. Hence the saying, 'Sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite.'" "Well, if anyone would know about bed bugs, he would," Shay whispers. Downstairs in the kitchen, the fireplace is big enough to stand in. The lady tells us that girls didn't go to school as much as boys, that they typically stayed home to learn how to take care of the house. My mind bites into that and I can't stop thinking about it. No more school. Ever. I lean over. "Albert, do you think that time travel is possible?" He whispers. "Albert Einstein had extensive theories on its possibilities, and I certainly wouldn't argue with him." "Me neither," I say to him. "How do you think I would look in one of those dresses and bonnets?" He looks puzzled. Finally, we go to a colonial schoolroom and join the rest of our class. A lady talks about what a visionary Noah Webster was to create the first American spellers and dictionaries. Before that, people used to just make up spellings. There were no right or wrong ways to spell. Some visionary. This spelling stuff is all his fault, since he's the one who got it in his head that we all needed to spell the same way. I'm thinking Noah Webster was a scoundrel, and they should have put him in jail for this. The lady tells us it took him 20 years to write the dictionary, and he also wrote the first school books and grammar books. I think he must have been tipped off his rocker, as my grandpa used to say. Students in colonial times didn't use paper and pencils like you do now. The lady holds up a little chalkboard in a wooden frame. They used slates, like these, and wrote their answers down to show their teacher. She passes out slates, which are fun to write on. I draw a picture of Pierre with his beret, and wish I had some green chalk to add a little smudge in honor of Albert. The woman takes out a pointed white hat. Now, this is something teachers began to use in schools toward the end of Noah Webster's life. It is called a dunce cap. As a punishment for misbehavior, a child would have to wear it and stand in the corner facing the wall. I hear giggling. Shay is showing her slate to a bunch of other kids. There's a head wearing a dunce hat, and Allie is written underneath. What's the fuss about? The guide asks as she walks over. Then she turns to them. That isn't very nice. Erase that, please. I stand, willing the tears that come to my eyes to stop, knowing they will only give everyone more to make fun of. Are you all right? The guide asks me. Everyone is quiet now. They are all watching me. It's worse than the laughing, so I run out. Out of the room and out of the museum. A woman calls to me, but I keep going. Out the door and around the back, across the lawn of a beautiful light green house. I find a swing set, which reminds me of my grandpa, and how we spent hours on them at the park. I try to think about what he'd say now, and am sad that it's hard for me to remember his voice exactly. My hands slide down the chains as I sit on the seat, thinking of when I was little, when my world wasn't such a heavy place. I used to love to swing as high as I could, leaning back, reaching for a bright blue sky with my feet, and it made me feel like I could do anything, reach anything. I lean my cheek against the cool chain, feeling like I can't reach anything anymore. Then the tears come. And then, standing in front of me, are feet. The shoes of them belong to Mr. Daniels. He stands for a while without saying anything until he finally says my name. All I can do to respond is sniff. Can you tell me what happened in there? I don't know what to say. Such a small question and such a giant answer. Please just leave me alone. He takes a couple of steps away and stays quiet for a bit. Then he says, My brother and I used to love to write in the sand on the beach, when my family would go to Maine. I don't answer him. Then he picks up a stick and writes something in the dirt under the swing next to me. More words. Why can't I ever get away from words? He turns towards me and I stare at his knees. Allie, he says, holding out the stick. Do you want to write something? I shake my head. I think of flying on swings through bright blue skies and away from words like dumb and freak and loser. He squats down in front of me. I'm sorry about whatever it was that upset you. Let me help. I take a deep breath, and when I let it all out, the words come with it. Nobody is ever going to be able to help me. Not ever. They all said I should have a dunce cap, and they're right. That's the thing. They're right. Oh my. Allie, you actually believe that, don't you? I can hear that it's a shock to him. I finally look up at him. Why wouldn't I? Because you are most certainly not dumb, Allie. You're just saying that. No, I'm not actually. For one, you are amazing on those bus driver math problems. You're one of the kids who gets the really harder ones correct. I look up into his face with the bright sun behind him and blurt out, But how come I can't read? It's the first time I've ever asked the question out loud, I guess because I am so desperate for an answer. Oh, Allie, he says. This thing that makes school hard for you, I think you might have something called dyslexia. And it means that, although it's hard for you to read, it doesn't mean you're dumb. He laughs a little. In fact, you, Allie Nickerson, are far from it. Your brain just figures things out differently than other people. I'm different. He's got that right. But no way am I smart like he says. You don't understand. Yeah, Allie, I think I do. Then he leans in. And you know what? You're brave. I so want to be brave, but I'm not. Coming to school every day, knowing what you're in for, knowing school will be hard, and that other kids are going to razz you, and you still come every day and decide that you're going to try again. I stay quiet, just thinking about what he said, hoping he knows what he's talking about. And you know something else? In some ways, you're a lot smarter than other kids. You can also do things they can't. For one, you're an amazing artist. Those drawings of yours? Wow, Allie, you've got talent there. What do you think about that? I think it's like saying, I'm sorry you're going to die, but at least people are going to bring you flowers. He laughs really hard now. See that? Seriously, Allie, only smart people say things like that. His voice drops. It's going to be okay, kiddo. I have never hoped for something so much as this. You and I are going to figure this out together. As a matter of fact, I already spoke to Mrs. Silver and Miss Kessler, the reading consultant at school. I was already planning to call your mom and to talk to you tomorrow. We're going to give you some tests. I deflate. Oh no, please, no tests. Not the test you're used to. You'll see. These are more like puzzles and games than tests, but the results will help us help you. I feel like I can look up for the first time. You are smart, Allie, and you are going to learn to read. A chill runs through my whole body. I don't have any choice but to believe him, because I can't go another day thinking things will be like this forever. I wipe the tears from my face with the back of my hand. He stands up and we start walking back. Mr. Daniels looks up at that bright blue sky and says, "Now don't be so hard on yourself, okay? You know, a wise person once said, everyone is smart in different ways. But if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it will spend its whole life thinking that it's stupid." I think hard about that. Could it be that simple? A mind movie flickers in my brain of an angry fish at the bottom of a tree, banging on the trunk with its fins and complaining that it can't climb it. I think of a turtle making a sandwich, a snake playing the violin, an elephant knitting, penguins playing basketball, an eagle scuba diving. But mostly, I hope with every bit of myself that Mr. Daniels is right about all of this. Chapter 30. Miserable King. 2 days later, a lady named Miss Kessler pulls me out of class early in the day to give me some tests. Mr. Daniels is right. They are more like puzzles and games than those awful bubble tests we do, where I just fill in circles without even reading the questions. She's really nice, like Mr. Daniels. After school, Mr. Daniels is setting up a chessboard and pieces at the reading table. I walk over and he looks up. "So, did your mom tell you that I called?" "Yeah, she didn't say much, though. She usually has a lot to say about everything." He laughs. Moms usually do. He motions towards the chair. "Have a seat." I pull out the chair, wondering what this is all about. "Okay," he says, loosening his tie like we are going to do some serious work. Chess is a game about planning. It isn't like other games where you just capture the powerful piece. He points to a piece with a cross on top. This is the king. The object of the game is to trap your opponent's king, but not actually capture it. When you put your piece in a place where it could take the other king, it's called check. When you give the other king absolutely nowhere to go, it's called checkmate. And that's how you win. Normally, I would be nervous and my mind would go blank, but he just has this relaxing way. His voice makes me calm. Maybe because I know he will never say anything mean, call me lazy or dumb. And I know he wouldn't think it either. Got that so far? I nod. So then, are you going to capture my king? I hesitate. Did I mess up already? Didn't you say that you don't capture it, that you just make it miserable? He laughs. Yes, I did say that. Good, Allie. Good listening. So he goes through the rest of the pieces. The queen is the most powerful and can travel in a straight line in any direction. There are 8 pawns that, when you band them together, can be strong. Most players take them for granted, though. He tells me that's a mistake. The rooks look like castles and travel in forward, backward, and side-to-side lines across the whole board. The bishops travel diagonally in straight lines, and the knights can jump in an L shape. The king can only move one spot in any direction. It stinks to be the one with the target on your back and be the one who can't go anywhere. He has made up a sheet with pictures of the pieces and arrows to show how they move. He says it is in case I need a reminder. I turn it over, looking him square in the eye, and say, "I don't need that." He smiles a little, but never takes his eyes off of me as he reaches down and moves one of his pawns. Good, then. When I start to make some dumb moves, he asks, "Are you sure you want to do that?" The first game ends fast, but on the second game, I capture his queen, the most powerful piece on the board. I stand up so fast my knees push my chair back and it falls over. I want to ask if he let me do that, but I'm afraid of his answer. He holds up his hand to high-five me. Well done. And it is so weird. I don't have trouble with this game. I like it. I like planning what I will do to trap his pieces. He shows me how you can work it so you can put your piece in a place where it can choose between taking two different pieces. Then your opponent has to choose which one to let go. That's called a fork. I love the look on his face when I manage one of those and take his bishop. Like, it hurts a little, but he likes it too. The longer we play, the better I can see it in my head. I can see what the board will look like a couple of moves from now. I learn to predict what he might do. I see a mind movie where chess pieces come to life. They can travel around on the board all day by themselves, and they are happy that they don't have to just stand there and wait for somebody to pick them up and move them. I know how relieved they are, being able to do something for themselves. Chapter 31. Lots of Ways Home. So, did your mom tell you that we talked? Mr. Daniels asks. Yeah. I take a long breath, noticing that I can feel my own heart beating. I have to talk to you about something. This doesn't sound good. I need your help. You need my help? Yes, I do. You know how Miss Kessler gave you those tests? Yeah. Well, it appears you do have dyslexia, which, like I said, makes learning to read difficult. But doesn't mean you're not bright. In fact, he says, half smiling like Travis, you're very bright, Allie. The tests show that too. I shift in my seat. But you will need some help with learning to read better, and we're going to get it for you. Thing is, it might take a little time. Sometimes the paperwork and meetings around that take a while. Okay. You know how I said we can't play chess on Tuesday or Thursday? Well, that's because I'm taking classes to get a degree in special education. Basically, it's a degree to help me help kids like you. Kids who are smart but have learning differences. Smart? Learning differences? So I spoke with Mrs. Silver and Miss Kessler. He leans forward. And your mom, of course. And we were thinking that I could help you after school a couple of times a week, until we can get you into formal services here at school. I open my mouth, but he holds up his hand. I know, staying after school with me will be torture, but it would really help me out with the projects I have going on for my degree. You'd be doing me a huge favor, and I'd be so grateful, Allie. He leans forward. So? I swallow hard. I'm not dumb. I know I'm not doing him a favor as much as he's doing me one, and I can't believe or imagine what I've done to deserve help like this. Stay after school? I'd sleep at school if it would help. I nod, and we shake on it. And he looks kind of dopey and happy. I shift in my seat again. But can I ask a question? Sure. What are learning differences? Oh, okay, he thinks. When you ride your bike home, is there more than one way to go? Yeah. I thought so, he says. Well, just like there are different ways for you to go home, Allie, there are different ways for information to reach the brain. You have 5 senses, right? Taste, smell, sight, hearing, and touch? I nod. So, what if an alien landed in a spaceship and you had to explain what the word frozen means without using the sense of touch? What if you had to use just words? I think that would be hard. Do you? Yeah, it would. I think you've had some trouble learning words with just your eyes. We're going to incorporate more of your senses to practice letters and sounds. And I want you to relax about it. We'll have fun. I won't give homework on this, no test to study for or anything like that, okay? I nod. Have you liked playing chess? I nod, hoping we can play today. You know, I had a feeling you would be good at it. I think your mind learns in pictures, and it helps you to be a really good chess player. We've played several times now, and you have learned it fast and improved a lot without much time. Also, thinking in pictures? He leans forward. It's one of the reasons you are such a good artist. Okay, I say, thinking this all sounds good so far. The only thing that worries me is that it won't work. I still won't be able to read. Good then, he says. We're going to practice writing letters, but we won't use paper and pencil. Then he pulls out a huge metal sheet and hands me a bottle of shaving cream. We're going to use this. And by writing in shaving cream, you'll use sight and touch, and write large enough to use your whole arm. Just more ways for the signals to get delivered to your amazing brain. I smile. Now, fill that giant sheet with foam and let's get started. As I draw my finger through the gooey cream, I think about the words, learning differences. And I'm filled with fear and happiness and questions, but I'm mostly filled with hope. Chapter 32. Screen Time. The day has been pretty good, and it just keeps coming. When I get outside, Mom and Travis are waiting for me in the car. We're going to head over to a friend's house to use their computer to Skype with your dad, my mom says. We are all missing him so much, I thought it would be good. The screen flickers at first, but then there he is, in his tan fatigues. Daddy, I say, not able to hold it in and sounding like a little kid. Allie Bug, you're so big. How are you, sweetheart? I'm good, Daddy. How are you? I'm good, but homesick. I sure miss you guys. I think how there's a word for him missing home, but not a word for us missing him. He holds up some of my pictures. I love the pictures you sent. I hang them up around my bunk. The other guys are jealous. He winks. I can tell that Mom wants to cry, but she doesn't. She says that being a soldier's wife means being strong for him. She doesn't want him to know how hard it is without him here. He has enough to worry about over there. I sometimes wish she would tell him. I sometimes wonder if he would come home if he knew. Good, Daddy. I miss you so much. I miss you too, honey. You know I do. How are things? More silver dollar days or wooden nickels? Some of each, I think, but more silver dollar days lately. My teacher is cool. He is... And I find I can't even explain it in words. Great. That's terrific, sweetheart. And I have 2 friends, Keisha and Albert. Keisha likes to bake and she's brave. You'd like her, Daddy. And Albert is like a computer. He is so smart. He's a little nuts, though. He's been telling us how he loves all of the standardized testing. He actually thinks it's fun. Fun? Testing? He sounds like a different kind of guy. He is. And there's a girl named Shay at school who isn't very nice to me. I feel rushed, like I have to get everything in fast. Well, you'll always run into people like that. You can hold your own, I bet. Mom pats me on the back. Have to give Travis some time, honey. Okay. And I watch a movie of myself being strong and saying goodbye and not crying. But I want to be able to step through that screen and wrap my arms around my daddy. It feels like a part of us all is missing, and we won't be whole again until he's home. Hey, Dad says. Remember, Allie Bug, I love you. There isn't anything in the world I love more than you, your brother, and your mom. I nod. Travis sits down next. Hey, son, how are the big plans coming? Not so great. What's going on? Nothing, Travis says. Come on, maybe I can help. Travis glances at Mom and me. Well, this new manager came in at the garage. The old guy used to let me do my thing, but this one hangs over me, always asking me to follow the specs and the manuals. If I do something, he wants to know what page I looked it up on. I know how to work on different cars. I don't need to look it up. My dad takes a long, slow breath. Well, that does sound rough. Have you tried talking to the guy? Or having him talk to the old boss? The old boss is out with back surgery for a while. Travis shakes his head. This new guy, he just doesn't get me. His voice cracks. My father leans forward, resting his elbows on his knees. Now he looks like he wants to crawl through the screen. You'll get there. I know you will. And this is temporary. Just try to work hard and learn everything you can. Travis nods, but looks at the floor. I hear him mumble, There are some things I just can't learn. I'm proud of you, Trav. You know that. He clears his throat. I'm sorry I'm not there with you. Yeah. Travis looks up at the screen. Love you, Dad. Love you too, son. Hang in there. It will get better. Travis nods, but I can tell he isn't buying it. Then he stands. Come on, Squirt. Let's give Mom and Dad some time. Why? He pulls me over. So they can talk mushy in private, that's why. We sit down at the kitchen table and Mom's friend gives us sodas. Travis cracks open his and takes a deep breath. What? I'm just so frustrated, Al. There's so much I want to do, but I want to help him. Maybe we could head out to some junkyards like we used to and see if we can find something worth fixing up. Maybe. I'd love to find another old Coke machine or something in someone's barn. Buy it cheap and fix it up on my own? He looks at me. You know I can turn almost anything around for some good money. The words are the same, but they are heavy. There's no wiggling fingers or talk of being a genius, and my big brother looks so serious. I know you'll have Nickerson Restoration someday, Travis, and it will be part mine because of the name, right? He turns back and laughs, but it isn't real. He spends the rest of the time looking out the window, and I rack my brain trying to figure out what I can do. Mom calls us back to say goodbye. Dad puts his hand on the screen. All three of us put our hands on the screen too, just as he flickers away. Mom leans over and leaves a lipstick kiss on the glass. Then she rests her forehead there and stays a while. Chapter 33. Possibilities. Working with Mr. Daniels gets easier because I am happy, but the work is really hard for me. He has written cat on the board and we talk about the sounds. I can only hear one sound, cat. But he says that the word cat has 3 separate sounds. It feels like he's telling me the sky is yellow. As I say each of the sounds, he has me tap them out on my fingers. It does seem to help. It forces me to make them separately, even though they are all one word. But it's a tiny word, and I worry what I'll do about whole books. Will I ever be able to do this? When we are all done for the day, he leans back in his chair like Travis would. So, you're doing great, Allie. You really are. How are you feeling about all of this? I'm actually happy to do this extra work, and I never thought I'd ever say something like that. He smiles. Good, I'm glad. But, yeah? I guess I still wonder if I'll ever be able to read the same as the other kids and be normal and not have to have all of this extra help. It seems impossible. He becomes serious. Then he takes out a piece of plain paper and pulls the cap off of a marker with his teeth. He begins to write. Impossible. Do you know what that says? Remember to break it into chunks. This is a long one, though, isn't it? I nod, trying to sound it out. Important? No, but that's a good try. It says impossible. Like you just said, you told me you think it seems impossible to read as well as everyone else. Yeah, I say, wondering why he had to write it down for me. It's not like I need a reminder. Then he draws a red line between the M and the P and hands it to me. I want you to rip the paper in 2 pieces, right where that line is. I do. So, now, Allie, that big piece of paper in your hand says possible. There is no impossible anymore, okay? I swallow and look down at it, and I feel a little dizzy. The way he says it makes me feel like it could actually be true. Now, throw that little piece with the I am on it in the trash. It's gone. Forever. I walk over to the garbage and drop it in. Watch it twist and spin as it falls. I look up and lock eyes with him, and wish I had the words to tell him how grateful I am for his helping me. In this world of words, sometimes they just can't say everything. All right then, he nods. You head home. I have some homework to do or I'll lose my recess. Okay, I laugh, but I'm still thinking of the word on the paper. Thanks, I say, looking down at it. My pleasure, he replies, and takes a folder out of his briefcase. I stare at that word. Possible. All the way down the hallway. I study the red color. I draw my fingers over the letters. I even smell the paper, so I can take it in somehow. I really want to believe.